Well, amid the thousands of protesting teachers, students, and supporters at the state capitol, there was another large group of people who were there to file to run for public office. This year's elections find far more candidates seeking to take over a seat in the Oklahoma legislature.
Even as spring brings flower blossoms across the landscape, be assured that political signs will pop up next to them as the 2018 election cycle gets underway in Oklahoma. Political observers noted this is the largest group of candidates running for office in decades. Nearly 800 people signed up to run for office. 15 candidates filed for the governor's race alone. Many incumbents drew opponents in their own party. Only 19 of the available seats in the legislature are uncontested, so those candidates automatically win those races. The total list of candidates will dwindle as withdrawals of candidacy are counted and challenges are heard. It's likely that many of the candidates filed as a reaction to the teacher walkout and other legislative issues making headlines over the past 18 months.
Well, I think the teacher walkout brought a focus to how important it is to get involved at the legislative level. I know that we've always had a push to get involved at our local levels, but they came out in great numbers and the crowds were magnificent. I support teachers. We have a family full of teachers, and when we saw them come out, they were very, very energized and excited, and I think that excitement carried out throughout the state, and many people came from throughout the state of Oklahoma and signed up and said, I think I want to try to be a candidate, see what I could do here at the Capitol.
I think the walkout is a huge part of it, and the general failure to fund education for not just this year, but honestly for the last decade. It was a huge contributing factor. We had a huge number of teachers who showed up to file, but I think it goes beyond just education. The failure of Republican leadership, and particularly the budget crisis, has affected basically all Oklahomans and every facet of their lives.
The number of candidates filing for races this year deviates from the norms of off-year election cycles.
It's a congressional election year. It's not a presidential election year. So in a congressional election year, those numbers should be down. But in fact, in 2016, the numbers were 418 people who registered or filed, right? So since 418 filed in 2016, a presidential election year, you would think we'd be down because it's a congressional, but it's up.
Candidate filings this year nearly doubled the number of candidates running in 2016.
And that tells you there's kind of a wave going on of people thinking, hey, I should run for office. So I think that's what's going on partly. But and not all of them are teachers, because from my understanding, OEA claims only 30 of them are members.
Wood believes some of the candidates might not be educators, but they are running because of education funding issues, not truly partisan issues.
If you look at teachers, 50.9% of teachers are Republican and 43.1% are Democrat and 6% independents. What does that mean? Is that there's more Republican teachers out there. So when you saw that protest, it wasn't just a Democrat protest. It was a Republican and Democratic protest that occurred.
Political parties don't get directly involved with candidates until after the primary and runoff elections. However, they do point their candidates to resources for their campaigns.
Part of help is actually painting a clear picture to let them know what they need to do in order to win a race and run a successful campaign, whether they're an incumbent or someone that's absolutely brand new. We'll talk to them about some of the resources we have here, but we'll also recommend maybe some consultants that may be advisors to help them out.
We offer the same resources to our candidates across the board. We had a phenomenal candidate training this past weekend right after filing. We had 120 people attend, which of our 230 Democrats, that's a pretty good ratio. Most of those were new first-time candidates. We give them the 101 basics of running for office, and that was free for them to attend, and any Democrat, regardless of whether they had a primary or not, was invited to that. We're also offering some resources, again, across the board to help with campaign literature, to help with websites, to make sure that all of our candidates across the state, even if, like you said, they're running a pretty grassroots effort, don't have a lot of big donors behind them, have the ability to run a robust and professional campaign.
The primaries will play a featured role in this year's elections because several offices have drawn multiple candidates of the same party. For example, in the governor's race, 10 Republicans, 3 Libertarians, and 2 Democrats declared their candidacies. Primaries with 3 or more candidates are likely to see runoff races in August before nominees are finally decided for the general election ballot. Inter-party divisions are likely to play out as the primary election draws closer.
There seems to be some kind of dissension within the Republican Party itself. Kind of the more conservative wing and maybe the more moderate wing are kind of trying to figure out who they are.
The primaries are set for June 26th. If runoffs are necessary, those elections will be held on August 28th. The general election will be November 6th.